All right. Okay. Mo and Christy, over to you guys.
Take it away,
Hey,
Christy.
everyone. What now?
I said, take it away.
Hey, I'm Christy. For those that may not know me, I'm mom to Anthony, who is 32, and Tim, who is 30. They both have CLS. So we were talking about adult recreation therapy, and it's very important that everybody know that recreation is for everyone. We got started, a little bit about my backstory. We got started in all this because Tim had a lot of physical issues. And so his orthopedic kept asking us, what else can you do? So we would go look for resources and we would start doing them. And he's like, no, he needs to be doing more. What else is there? So we started researching some more and we found some more activities. He's like, no, more. And that was always their theory with Timothy, is that he needed to be extremely active to keep him mobile and to keep him going. So we just continued to go out and seek resources, or if the resources weren't there, start advocating for those resources in the area. And I always thought it was more, we always did this more for Tim, but then when COVID hit, and we didn't have access to all these services, I saw Anthony's decline as well physically, where Anthony started having to pick up physical therapy, and Anthony had to start getting some OT, and we had to start addressing some issues with him. So I realized that he was benefiting as much as Timothy was benefiting, even though I always thought we were kind of doing it more for Tim. So we just want to share some things that we've had access to, or resources that we have found that others might find useful. So we can go to the next slide. Adaptive resources. So there's adaptive biking, there's hiking, kayaking, surfing. We've not done the biking, hiking, kayaking, but they're all within some of these same exact organizations that we'll be talking about here in a second. But the boys have done this adaptive surfing, and they absolutely love it. When I say this is for everyone, there's children that get out there that are in wheelchairs. There's people that are very physically handicapped. So I always tell my friends, don't sell your kids short. Give them the opportunity to try. And sometimes it might be trying 2 or 3 times, not just once, and be like, okay, this is just not for them. Because when we started with adaptive climbing, Tim got to the wall and he froze. He wouldn't go up anymore. We just kept taking him back because Anthony enjoyed it. We just kept taking him back. Now Timothy goes up all the walls and he loves that as well. And then Diana was in town and we took Tom with us. And she's like, oh, Tom's not going to go up that wall, Christy. We're just going to watch. Well, she had to sign a waiver because she was in the building. So I took the lady that was in charge. I was like, I need you to get him up that wall. I just need you to get him up the wall. I need to show mom that I know that he can do this. And so while she was signing the forms and then she came in, they had Tom at the top of the wall too. They have special adaptive chairs for the adaptive climbing that works upper body strength. So there's just lots of adaptive resources for these. So when you're looking at them, just don't look at it and say, no way. I want you to check it out, see what's available, and see if it's something your individual might enjoy. Some of the programs like Life Rolls On, those are national programs. They're not specific here to North Carolina. We do have Adaptive Surf Project North Carolina, but that's just an extra one. It's Adaptive Surf Project, all is in general. And then you can Surfers Healing. That one is more specifically for individuals with autism. But I do know we have some of our CLS kids that fall on the autism spectrum, and as well. And so that one is just for autism. You can go, and I put the links up here for the website resources just to go where it gives you a complete directory for the adaptive surfing organizations and some of the adaptive sports organizations. So you can pull it up, see kind of what's in your area. You can also hit a quick Google search for your local area and often find those type of resources as well. You can go to the next slide. Some of the local resources, we have a program called Miracle League here. We also have a program called Buddy Sports. They're really kind of the same concept all in one. That's where they each get partnered with an individual, a volunteer that comes out and hangs out with them and gives them the opportunity to do a variety of sports. Miracle League typically is baseball, but the Buddy Sports, that's like football, it's soccer, it's basketball. We have a lot of individuals. I coach for the Buddy Sports and the Miracle League. And we have a lot of individuals that are wheelchair individuals. We have some that have crutches. We have some that have walkers. And then we have some that are more able-bodied and are able to do it all. But those are all sports that are adaptive to allow our individuals to be able to participate and do things like everybody else does. They can't go participate on the regular rec teams. So this gives them the opportunity to go out there and get to do those things. A lot of areas also have therapeutic recreation centers. They usually offer a host of benefits. Our particular things that I have listed are just things that we do here at our particular one. They have local dances, girls and guys night out, art programs, cooking classes, adaptive jitsu, karate, bingo nights, just lots of fun events geared for our special needs adults. You can also typically check with your local ARC and autism societies or your other special needs organizations in your area to see what's available. I know our Autism Society has a really nice list that they have put together of all the local resources in the area that they're able to pass out to families about that. We have a lot of therapeutic horseback riding programs in our area, which is also very wonderful for the kids to give them the opportunity to have another event that they can do in the area. Special Olympics, that one's probably the closest to my heart. I sit on our local committee for the Special Olympics, and I also coach quite a few of the sports for Special Olympics. It's definitely a wonderful sport opportunity from bowling, aquatic, softball, basketball, equestrian. Again, it's a quick Google search to locate yours. But if you're seriously interested about Special Olympics in your state or your area and you're not sure how to get connected, I have resources at my state level that I would be willing to reach out to try to get you guys connected for the Special Olympics programs. I don't know as much about the best buddies, but I know Mo can touch on that a little bit later on when she's talking about hers. And that when she talks a little bit in a little while about her things. The next slide. This one is important to me too. I think sometimes, and I'm guilty too, of forgetting about tapping into your local resources in your community. I've often used these for Timothy a lot over the years. Anthony, I had to go back and I don't know why I had to think about it, but I did. I'm like, he's struggling. He needs some help. Duh. Timmy gets some of these services. Why am I not using them for Anthony? So for PT, the OT, speech, and that our adults can still benefit from those things. It's not always easier in the adult realm to get those services. But it's definitely important to try to advocate and talk to your specialist about that. If you see your individual struggling, talk to your therapist, talk to your orthopedics, like whoever follows your individuals, to ask them if that might be a good resource for you guys. And then I just talk about a little bit about some of the PT goals that we have personally worked on: posture, flexibility, decreased endurance, his decreased ankle dorsiflexion, strength on both sides. We also been doing a lot of OT this past year. Anthony's hands kind of cramp and they shake. And so he's kind of losing some of his fine motor skills, difficulties holding utensils at times. So we've had to go back and start addressing some of that with some OT goals. I have not posted it. You'll see it says that I'm going to post all the goals and objectives in the file section. I have not had the opportunity to do that, but I promise you before the end of the week, I will have that listed in there. So if that's stuff you guys would like to print off or look at later, you can do that.
Hey, Christy,
Another,
sorry to interrupt. I'm also going to have this slide deck out there as well.
okay, that sounds good. And then another thing our boys really have benefited from is warm water therapy. And if this is something that tweaks your guys' interest, I do actually have a warm water therapist that has been working with both of my guys that is willing to have a Zoom parent session to talk more about that, about goals and objectives and how the warm water therapy specifically could benefit CLS. And I'll also list the goals and objectives. She does a lot of really, really cool things with the guys in the pool to address the PT goals and stuff that they have. She does cognition goals in there, just all kinds of different things. So most of those are usually typically located like possibly at your hospital. Maybe your YMCA might offer warm water therapies, but our particular program is based out of our local hospital system. You can go to the next slide. These are just a couple of things that we've learned on our journey, that these resources and supports just don't happen. You might have to advocate, you might have to create, you might have to start some of these programs in your areas. When Anthony and Timmy first started, they didn't necessarily have all the stuff at the Gilmore. They didn't necessarily have all those things. All these things that they do now didn't necessarily exist. We just kept asking, hey, this would be fun. Hey, this would be fun. Do you think we could get this started? And over time, it's grown into all the different things that we shared earlier that their center offers. It might mean reaching out to your community and talking about those. And it might mean you volunteering to help or how you can help get those things started. Start at smaller on Zoom. When Anthony and Timmy were, I don't know, probably about 16, we realized that they didn't quite have the resources out there for them. They wanted to hang out with their friends like any typical teenager did. So we used to host things at our house. We had a pool table in the garage. We put games out in the yard. We'd have bonfires, just whatever, just to connect these kids and let them hang out with their buddies and their peers, doing what typical kids get to do. And then, you can do game night, karaoke, puzzles, crafts, bowling, dinner and a movie, just anything your imagination can kind of think up. And Mo also has a lot to say about that too. And they've gotten very creative with some ideas. So I'm going to let her save some of that for her as well. And then one thing I didn't put on the slide, but I was going to mention, it's the importance of them keeping them moving and them always having access to those services. I really feel, and nobody will convince me otherwise, that I really feel that that has a lot to do with where Anthony and Semi function physically, is them always being moving, always going. Saturday, their schedule was adaptive climbing and swimming, and they often have sports 2 or 3 nights a week, in addition to what they do during the daytime. So they're extremely active, but I really feel like that has been extremely beneficial for them. At least that's our story and how I feel about it. We can go to the next slide. These are just some things that I've looked at. We haven't actually used them yet, but Anthony likes to cook. He likes to help out in the kitchen. So I just thought these were a few fun things that looked like others would enjoy. So I was just going to share them. This particular cooking link provides visual recipes and other resources that help specifically It looks like individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities cook basic meals and snacks. So I thought that might be fun. And then there was another one with Able to Learn that had visual recipes that could be beneficial for you guys if you have individuals that enjoy cooking. The next slide. These are some few other little things that the guys kind of do. They're part of a local special needs dance team. And it doesn't have to be a special needs dance team. It could be in a dance team that's willing to let individuals with disabilities participate too. Ours just happens to be a program specifically based around individuals with disabilities. Or it could be an inclusion type program or some kind of adaptive class. But when the orthopedic was asking me, what else can you do, when we were already clicked in all the boxes for all the sports, and we were clicking all the boxes for the swimming, and we were kicking all the boxes for everything, I ran across that one. And so they've been doing that for about 6 years. And they go once a week, and they actually go to competitions twice a year. They go and do a competitive dance program, and they go for the competitions with all the other typical individuals that are with their dance company. So that's kind of pretty cool. Music therapy and art therapy programs are also really fun resources that are often available within the communities. One more, next slide. And then there are some more web link resources for just some different ideas for adaptive physical educational activities, some wheelchair exercises, some just different resources that might be, some of the families might be able to find handy to be able to do things at home with their individuals, just ways to try to keep them active. And then the very last one is the Tim Tebow's Night to Shine. This is absolutely my children's favorite thing of probably everything that they do. They literally talk about it from the moment that it's over, every day until the next year. Like, they're already talking about who they're taking. They're already talking about what they're wearing. They're already planning on how. There's a lot of people in the communities that typically churches that usually are hosting these. So that's just the web link that can take you to just the general website to see what churches are available in your area that might be hosting that. It's an absolutely priceless event to participate in. It's an absolutely priceless event to participate in. If you can leave there without tears, then you're better than me, because it makes me cry every time. It just, seeing these kids' smiles and how happy they are and how they are just the center of attention, and then it's all about them and it's their night to truly shine. It's just really cool. So I wasn't sure if everybody was aware of that. So we just wanted to talk about that a little bit too. I appreciate it, and I will turn it over to Mo so she can share hers.
Hey, thank you, Christy. Really appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions for Christy before we move on? All right, we'll move on.
I do.
Looks like Lynn.
Oh,
Lynn has.
wait, Lynn has one.
I was trying to get off audio. Christy, with all the different things that the boys are involved in, like the warm water therapy, is that covered by insurance, or how are you working that out?
So in our particular situation, Tom does it through his hospital system, and his is billed through his insurance. Our particular program that the Anthony and Timothy is just a small nominal fee that we pay, and we pay out of pocket for.
Okay, because Taylor hasn't been able to qualify for
so
like OT,
it's a very
any of that stuff, because
what now?
Taylor hasn't been able to get like OT, PT, any of that stuff, because insurance doesn't cover it. and I'm still on a wait list for services here in Texas.
It should be, okay, so you should be covered under his Medicaid. And are required, I mean, you're like in the state of North Carolina, for an example, under Medicaid laws, they have voice qualify for 28 in a calendar year. Now, that's not per PT, that's not per speech, that's not per OT, that's all combined together,
Okay.
which is not that great at the end of the day, but
Right.
it's absolutely better than nothing. They're currently on a hiatus because we've used up what they have available, so there is no more available for this calendar year.
Okay.
So they aren't currently in the services. You typically also need to go to your orthopedic or your regular doctor to be able to get the referrals specifically for those to go over and get evaluated for insurance to be willing to pick those up.
Okay. Thank you.
But not
Thank you.
specifically the warm water therapy. If it's billed through the insurance, then you would have to go through your doctor. For us, because it's an pay out of pocket thing, we just have to have a note that says that our child would benefit from warm water therapy.
Okay.
And then we're responsible for the small nominal fee per session.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Hey, and I'll share something. I had heard Christy talk about how they were doing physical therapy, and Matthew hasn't done physical therapy in years, but we should have. He had a really bad fall a couple of years ago, and it's been really debilitating to him. But Christy, because of you and how you shared that you do all the different therapies with him, I went to our doctor and said, hey, I think we need physical therapy. He's like, yes, absolutely. We'll get that going. And so we did it. We did 2 different, I think, maybe 12-week sessions. So we're taking a pause right now, but I do want to thank you, and what you're doing is having an impact on others. So thanks. All right, Mo.
I'm muted. I think I could say the same thing about us. It never occurred to me that once you're well out of the school system, that you can have PT and OT unless you break something or hurt something. So we did the same thing. I went to my doctor and she said, absolutely. And that's how easy it was. So Christy talked about things that are available to her. I'm focusing more on how you get things going yourself, because I don't know, everybody has a different community, and every community has a different level of acceptance, shall we say, as to pouring money into programs for people with disabilities. But this picture here is kind of the posse that one by one, we picked each other up, and they didn't stand a chance really when we got going. And you have to sometimes create resources. You can go to the next slide. I'm figuring this was 1997. That's best I can guess. It was a bunch of us went to the rec department, our local rec department, which had all sorts of typical summer programming, summer day camps. And we asked for a summer camp for our kids in our area that it stands for something, but all the towns around us that have this program have such a program. They just call it SCAMP. So anyway, the rec director at the time said, yes, he agreed 100%. And he just said, you guys are going to have to help with the fundraising. We participated. He just made it happen. And I think if we went to a rec department head now, they would never just say, sure, because the ratio of kids to camp to counselors has to be so great with SCAMP. But anyway, we asked, so it was a smashing success the very first year, because in our town, especially at that time, all of the kids were in different places as far as where they would be seen. And for school, they were in their neighborhood school instead of in centers somewhere. So they never saw each other. So we brought them all together for this scamp, and things happened that we never dreamed of. All these, the first day Carly went, and all she wanted was one friend, and she came walking out the first day looking like it was Christmas, holding the hand of a little girl. That was it, So then, of course, then we went back to the rec director and said, it was really great for them to see all these kids, but they still don't see them in their normal daily lives. Is there any way you could have, some things during the year? And he said, yes. So we kind of pushed for things that were small and almost no cost. So there's a rec center, so they could have a movie pizza night where they come to a room in that building. People who want to bring a movie, bring it, and the kids vote on which one to watch, and they order pizza, and that's the evening. And really the only cost is for the pizza and the supervisor. A walking group, same thing, supervisor. A bingo night, again, they already have the space for it. They just need to pay for someone to oversee it. So then pretty soon we had to have a Halloween dance, and then we had to have Diners Club, which is where they go out to dinner once a month, and there's 2 supervisors who help them with their bills and help them with ordering. They pay for their own and everything. And then, then of course, then there was basketball and softball, and then there was bowling, and then there's movie night out. And these things just grew and grew. Can you go to the next slide? Eventually the rec department had to hire an adaptive activities supervisor, and the rest is history. You can go to the next slide. This is the page for our adaptive offerings, and each one of those squares represents multiple options for every adaptive person, whether they're young or they're older. You can go to the next slide, and this is just what's offered this fall, and all in one place. They use the community for things, but they also, they stick them in the dance room, the recital rooms, they stick them in the preschool rooms, just anywhere that that will accommodate whatever the activity is. And so Carly, she's not into kickball or judo, but she does a lot of these other things. And one of the things I'm really excited about is they've connected with some kind of a therapy place that offers social skills workshops. So it's a one-night thing, just talking about how to have conversations. One of them is going to be focused on knowing what the boundaries are. One of them will be on assertive communication, which my child desperately needs, because she won't say what she needs. And then a newest thing is they partnered with Best Buddies. So we live near Oakland University. It's Oakland County in Michigan, Oakland University, and they have a Best Buddies program. And that is a national program for college students to partner with local people with disabilities for social nights, social activities. And I noticed this fall, they're partnering with our rec department. So the kids in Best Buddies, they're college students. They don't necessarily have spaces. They're not really great at organizing things and from an administrative point of view. But yet they want to do this. So they've partnered with our local rec department to have these social nights. And the kids already go to this rec center for a lot of things. So I think it's gonna be really a good partnership. You can go on.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yes.
How are these different activities, the time, the date, and the specifics of each one, how are those advertised to our community?
Well, I can send you to the website and you can see when you click on those boxes, it lists the activities, and you click on the activity, it says what days of the week, how much it costs, what it entails,
Yeah,
etc.
I guess my question is more, how do you get the word out to other parents that aren't necessarily on this web page?
Right. Well, the school, the adaptive post-high school program always tries to connect families with the offerings in the area. And the our town that we live in, well, it used to be printed in a book that came in your like local paper. You know, it would be just a book that came in your mailbox a couple times a year, and they've gone paperless, of course, but I don't know. I think it's just at this point, everybody tells everybody. I don't know, beyond that, because it's the Rochester Avon Recreation Authority, which is also called RARA. And anybody with kids knows RARA, because no matter what kind of, whether you have a neurotypical kid or you have one of our kids, that's the resource for everybody. So, is that okay? I mean, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. You did. Thank you.
Okay,
I was
so
gonna,
go ahead.
I was just gonna tag on that real quick, just to say that, like in our area, they use our Special Olympics webpage. Some of the Special Olympics, other counties put stuff up, all their social events for their area up like on their Special Olympics page. We also have like a Parks and Rec guide. And when you go through the Parks and Rec guide, our stuff for the special center for the Gilmore Rec Center is all underneath that one rec center. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think that's, I think going to the typical through the typical, if you have a rec center, you look at your rec center first. And I can't stress enough, it doesn't hurt to ask. If we'd never asked, we would have never heard that first yes. So you can go to the next slide. So if you're saying we just don't have anything like that, then you have a different challenge. You have to kind of get one or two other parents and fire them up and get them moving. So I'm going to tell you about what happened during the pandemic. All of a sudden, all of our kids with all of their activities, their jobs, everything went away overnight. And some of them were really suffering from the lack of being around their friends and just having things to do. So one parent invited 5 other families, 5 other kids to have a Zoom with her son. And then we thought that worked so well, we'll have one next week. Well, now the kids pretty much were looking at each other the whole time. I mean, they had very little to say, and they didn't, they were very excited to see each other, but there's only a couple of them that'll actually have a conversation. So the second week that they did this, that parent came up with a theme like sports trivia, and all the kids got on. And what ended up happening over the 2 years that we were kind of restricted, over the 2 years, this group of 5 turned into 21 weekly participants on this Zoom. And that was 21 different families, and parents or the siblings of some of the kids volunteered to be the host for that week's Zoom. And we had Mardi Gras party, we had Halloween parties, we had Christmas Secret Santa things where you had to put your name and some kind of gift card you like in the name of a type of gift card in an envelope and mail it to this one parent. And she did a big thing on the Zoom where she pulled each name and said, and sent that person somebody's Secret Santa thing. And they proceeded to actually mail each other in an envelope something each week till Christmas. We had nights where I was very lazy. I didn't want to really do anything. So I invited their favorite coach to come on as a mystery guest. And he talked to everybody and asked them what they'd been up to. We had a group birthday party where it was everybody's birthday and they all celebrated, and they had to make some kind of dessert that they could show everybody before they ate it. But the bottom line was this was just creating out of nothing an event. And sometimes parents don't realize it's pretty easy if you just get 2 or 3 parents to get it going. Little by little, you end up with all these terrific social interactions that you didn't expect that you could have in the middle of a pandemic. So can you go to the next slide? These are just a couple of pictures. This was the Mardi Gras episode. And someone delivered to our house that day, the parent who was hosting had their son get in the car with them, and they brought each household a little bag full of stuff. So there was a craft, and there were the beads, and there was, there was all sorts of other stuff, little snacks. And they couldn't open it till 7 p.m. when the Zoom started. And it was a great success. And not everybody did anything that elaborate. You could do something simple. One of the parents did a would you rather do this or would you rather do that? And they all had discussions. So it was the most social interaction. I mean, it's more social interaction than some of them get in a normal week. Mm-hmm. So it was a great thing. Could you go to the next slide? Then we just, these families, we rely on each other greatly at this point, and they take turns. And one parent has a huge piece of property, and they actually do campouts at Halloween time overnight in their backyard, where all the parents go, set the tents up, and then we leave. And there's a couple of parents who stick around and do all the typical camping things. And one of the cool things about that is that it's good for some of the parents, especially like some of the dads, because most of in our group of friends, it's mostly the moms that know everything and get everything organized and do everything. Well, one of the dads has a special job now, and all the kids look forward to him at the camp out telling dad jokes. Like, that's his thing, is dad jokes. And now he buys books of dad jokes, and they think he's hysterical. So if you go to the next slide, we're stressing, Christy and me, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can talk to teachers, paras, therapists, of course, other parents, and just sort of shake the trees and find out what's out there. You go online and check out the rec departments in other towns near you, somewhere that's close enough that it wouldn't be too far to drive if they did have something your child really liked. You can find out if your library has a list of adaptive resources and Libraries have a lot of activities that are free or low cost, and a lot of them are appropriate for our guys. If you have a nearby college, check out if they have a Best Buddies chapter. And that is a really, I mean, Carly loves it. And the fact that she's almost twice as old as her buddy and could technically be her mother is lost on her. But the college kids, it's good for them. It's very good for them. And they really enjoy the interactions. And then my last thing is, don't overlook the things that are offered for seniors, because you might be surprised at what's available for the senior population that could be so easily offered to the disabled population, because an awful lot of it's the same thing, just different age groups. And you can go and say, well, if the local senior, if we offer, chair yoga for seniors, why can't we offer that for young people who are disabled? And it's often very cost effective because they already have a staff. They just need to schedule it pretty much. So you can go to the next slide. So just for the heck of it, I typed this into my browser, adaptive activities near me. And this is just some of what was available. And you can see it's all letter A. And there were pages and pages of things that are near me, some of which are overlaps because they have the names written differently, and granted, I live in a heavily populated part of the state, but you'd be surprised what just comes up, and you might find some things that are really cool, like that climbing thing. That's intriguing to me, although I doubt if I could con Carly into it, but she does like watching the Ninja Warrior. She really likes that. So go to the next slide, and this is our kind of combined from our discussion. Everybody needs friends who are their peers. Having friends who are their teachers or friends who are, much older than them is fine, but they need peers. And think about what you would do without your friends. A lot of us have a group of girlfriends we hang out with. What would we do without those people? So you want to build that however you can. Don't be afraid to ask your rec department to start some programs, and I recommend asking for really inexpensive programs first. They already have supervisors or people who are instructors for things, so all they're paying for is that 2 hours of that person's time to have another class. And also check out the senior, the offerings for seniors, and ask for a similar money commitment from them to our kids. And it's not just about sports. Now, Carly absolutely adores sports, loves softball. It's her very favorite thing on earth. It's followed by bowling. But there's more than sports, and approach athletic facilities, but also approach art studios in your town, libraries, music schools, colleges, zoos. So at the Toledo Zoo, a friend of mine, her son was obsessed with zoo animals, particularly reptiles. And the Toledo Zoo had a program for him on Saturdays where he could help in that reptile house. And he loved it. So you might be surprised what they're willing to do for our kids if they're approached. And then Christy, like this was a eye opener, the therapy options. Those can be fun programs too, and often are covered financially. check out adaptive recreation in other towns and start small. If nothing else, start with a Zoom. We did Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. just from 7 to 8, and it was done at 8. Nobody wanted to drag this out except the kids. We just were like, no, this goes till 8, and you just cut it off. But that was very fun. And for those of you who have kids who are not verbal, there were nonverbal people on those calls, and they enjoyed themselves thoroughly. They couldn't answer some of the questions that would be asked to the others, but just watching the others was very entertaining. And if they have those people as friends in their lives, they're happy to just see what they're doing and what, I don't know, they enjoyed it greatly. Christy, can you think of anything else? I bet she's muted.
No, I think you covered it all.
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
Not unless anybody had questions. No.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question so much. I just posted something in the chat. I didn't know if anybody was looking in there. So I just wanted to mention, it's so true about like starting small. Like we've had to build our communities over the years, and we've done a lot of things in our local area. I know I'm meeting with the pickleball ladies next week. I have a luncheon at the pickleball center. So we're going to try to get an adapted pickleball league here for our community.
Oh, that would be cool.
And I don't know if I know a couple of you saw Halia water skied. So that I think is something we found by Googling. So Google is like your friend. They have an adaptive chair ski. It was amazing. It was super cold, but it was amazing. And she was so excited. So there's things like that. But I wanted to mention Penguin Project. It's a nationally recognized theater program, and it's typically for 12 to 23. But I know like our local chapter, we have so many kids aging out that they've created a penguin player. And it's like the coolest thing. Even if you're not into theater, just the bond between the mentors and the actors. They pair each participant with a typical actor or typical mentor, but the kids and adults with disabilities take center stage, and they're the star. The others are in their shadow behind them. And so if you haven't heard of Penguin Project, Google it. It's an amazing program. We've participated in it this will be our 6th year and our last year, which is sad because Halia's going to college next year. So anyway, I'll stop talking, but I wanted to share the Penguin Project because it is really super cool. And it's an alternative to sports, like Mo was mentioning, that not all about sports. I mean, sports are super cool and everything, but there are arts and theater and music therapy. We've done sound reach, and there's probably lots of musical therapies out there that really get your kids engaged, and adults, like it's adults engaged, So
I think that's true. And I think that like we have in our town, we have an art studio that was designed for people with disabilities. And the backstory is that it's called Paint a Miracle. And the backstory is that there was a pediatric dentist here in town who was very busy, very active in the community, well beyond his dental practice. He was hit by a drunk driver, lost most of his sight, almost died, and was no longer able to. He had such a traumatic brain injury, he was no longer able to practice. And he slid into a deep depression, and a friend of the family dragged him to an art studio. And he said, I can't even see, how can I make art? And she said, you don't paint with your eyes, you paint with your heart. And it brought him back to life, basically. And then he said to his wife and his family, you have to create a studio for people like me. So it's a fine arts studio. It's not a make it and take it thing. It's a studio where they learn art techniques, all different kinds of techniques. They may do, for example, Carly and her friends in her class, they all did this picture with sheep, and everyone is different, but they use some of the same techniques. And so I recommend looking for those sorts of things too, because that's a one-off in this community. But the arts, and we don't want to overlook the kids who think with their heart. They work better with their hearts than with their bodies. And I agree heartily with Christy that you've got to keep them moving for sure. But don't forget, they have, if they were a neurotypical person, they might enjoy a painting class here and there. They might, also be on a pickleball team. Don't overlook that. So did anybody have anything else to add, or anything else to share?
I'm just really thankful you guys did this, because it really made me more excited to look for other things, because I'm new in my community, so I don't have a community. So I have to go out and try to find things. So I appreciate the resources. At least I can start looking.
Yeah, and you got a lot of good ideas tonight, because I got a lot of good ideas, and I Googled adaptive in my area, just like you said you did, Mo, and there are some. But
Google is your best friend.
yeah, it is. Hey, thank you all so much. Thank you all for joining tonight, and Mo and Christy for pulling this together. It's very important. And, I can tell with Matthew, the more we keep him active, the better he does. So we've got to really come up with some more alternatives. And you've given me personally a lot to think about tonight. So thank you. Anyone else have anything?
I was just going to say, don't forget about this community too. I mean, it's Zoom
Exactly.
most of the time,
Sure.
but you've given us a lot of good, ideas to take and run with. Maybe we have a costume contest, Zoom, or for Halloween or something fun.
Kids would love that. The kids would love that.
It
We
was
have a lot of creative thinkers here.
that
We can come
thing.
up with
That
some
thing
stuff.
took off. It had a life of its own. I mean, there was not one time that we had to say to families, hey, the same people keep volunteering, somebody else needs to do this. The other families just jumped in like on their own. We never said this has to be a rotation. It just was super organic the way it happened. And when you have a lot of different people, they have so many different ideas for how to spend this hour, and the kids go crazy. I mean, I was filming Carly on watching the Zoom and listening to it. I mean, we would have to turn the TV up while she was in the kitchen because we couldn't hear, because they're all like, they were having such a good time, and during the pandemic, it was priceless. But, and the kids who are very fragile and really couldn't be out anywhere, it was so great for them. And they were and also some kids who don't live anywhere near here anymore, like some have moved away, they could be on too. It really bridged that gap. And it was pretty great. So that one just happened.
That's why me and Diane have always encouraged the use of the Zoom rooms for getting together with other families or whoever your niche of people are that you've connected with. Like, the guys that get together, that same group of guys get together. There's 5 of them. Lately, there's been 2 others that've been hopping on. So I think we're up to 7 now. I think we had 7 today. Is that what it was, Lynn?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we had 7 on today. just giving them the chance to interact with each other. And like she said, sometimes they don't say anything at all, but it's okay. It's just the
Voice.
fact that they know that their friend is on the other side of the screen, and that they just know that they're there and they're connected and they get to interact.
It's huge because I see Taylor. Taylor gets super animated when he's on there because he's so excited to see his friends. He can just be calm all day, and then
Taylor definitely keeps us all entertained.
he is off the wall. I'm like, settle down, buddy. But he's so excited to see his buddies.
Yep.
So if you
That's
guys
right.
even use that resource to stay connected to your CLS families when you're away from one another until we have the next Zoom.
Right.
I mean, it's great. Not next Zoom, Lord, the next gathering. It's just a way for them to be able to still know who they are.
Yeah.
It's not as good as in person, as Anthony says. He likes in person much better.
Right.
And COVID really kind of wore him out on, the not being together with everybody. But
you guys should try a theme, like having a theme day. Like today is going to be, we're going to pretend it's everybody's birthday, or we're going to do sports trivia, or, this one friend with her, would you rather, I didn't understand what was the point of that. And it is hilarious to watch them. I mean, it really is hilarious. And they actually talk, which they often don't,
Right.
So, yeah.
Anthony and Timmy did some other Zooms with some other groups during the COVID period. Sometimes it was as simple as a show and tell. Sometimes they sang songs together. We did some virtual field trips. The lady took us on a field trip to Disney World.
Oh,
so
that
the boys
was a cool idea.
The boys loved that. They thought that was the neatest thing ever. So there's a lot of very simple, not something that takes a lot of creativity. It was just a matter of pulling up some YouTube videos from Disney World and what have you. So there's a lot of fun ways to stay connected in the virtual world.
Sounds good. I like that Halloween party idea on Zoom. That sounds fun.
If anyone's interested, I could help. We could coordinate.
All right, you got it.
Well, and Rachel,
we're signing you up.
Yeah, I figured so much.
And the trick to it is not making anybody do anything. Like it just needs to happen on its own, or it takes too much away from it. Oh,
I can put an invitation together and put it out on our webpage. How about I'll do that. I'll do like a PowerPoint slide of come with your costume, or do some things like that. And then we just
Rachel, I've got a Zoom account, so
okay,
I can host it and it can go through here, and I can send out
perfect
when we figure out
it would be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Halloween's my thing. Like I get pretty. I could do a virtual spooky Halloween show through my decorations or something.
Awesome. Yeah, we'd love
Set the mood. Okay. I'll work on it.
We also had a talent show one week, and that's really hysterical because first of all, you learn about things that they can do that you never thought. But some of them did what. Do you remember the old David Letterman show? He had that stupid pet trick.
Stupid pet tricks.
Well, this is what it was called, stupid kid tricks. And they can roll their eyeballs, or they can, they
like
do stuff kids do, and that was really funny. So anyway, those are some ideas.
I love it. I love it. Hey, and if you guys have ideas for more CLS talks sessions, send them my way. And if you want to volunteer to host one, like Mo and Christy did tonight, that'd be great. We'll try to keep it at an hour. I think this was right at an hour.
Yeah.
If you're interested in the warm water therapy lady coming on and sharing more about that and a little bit more in depth of what that looks like and what's involved with that, she's been very kind and really goes above and beyond for Anthony and Timothy. And she's even willing to go as far as communicating with other therapists or other individuals specifically in regards to CLS to try to create more of a support system for families with that specific diagnosis. And she's been working with Anthony and Timothy. So just, I didn't share all the stuff that she shared with me from the water therapy, but she's got sheets of information. It's very detailed and very in depth. So if you want to take a poll and see if that's of interest, that could possibly be something.
Well, I think we can do it, and if people aren't interested, they won't call in. So,
Yeah.
There you go.
okay. All right, great. Well, listen again, thanks everyone. Special thanks to Mo and Christy. Yay. You guys rock. And hope to see you all soon.
Okay,
Bye.
Have a great week, everyone.
bye.
Bye,
Organizing
guys.
too.
Thank you guys.
See y'all.